I have genuine intentions of putting the engine in the Impala in the next 4 weeks, I hope. And the rate at which I publish videos on YouTube is usually, on average, about 1 every 2 weeks. So that means in the next 1 to 2 videos I'll be putting it in, I hope. Let me show you where I'm stuck and what's holding me up. It's the clutch fork. This goes around this, I guess you call that the release bearing. It has a very strange like ridge on it that spins around, and this has a ton of play in it. And so it was kind of confusing to me because I'm like, how does this thing mount? So what I'm trying to figure out is to make sure that this is on here okay. And then I got to screw this part into there. And obviously I need to take the whole thing off this stand to get the bell housing mounted up. And I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to do this. Do you mount the bell housing first? And then take this and plug it into there? And then try to wiggle the clutch fork in there somehow through here? Not entirely clear to me. So that's where we are. That's why I'm stuck. It's a beautiful day today for a couple of reasons. Besides the fact that it's beautiful and sunny out, I just got a Hydro Boost kit with some brackets to mount to the firewall of the Impala. Check out this sexy thing. This is a Hydro Boost brake system, and the reason why I'm doing Hydro Boost on the Impala is because I am supercharging that engine, so I am not sure if I will be able to have the vacuum that I need to sustain adequate braking. This bypasses that concern. The way Hydro Boost works is it uses the hydraulic pressure from the power steering pump instead of the vacuum created by the engine in order to create the pressure you need in order to make the calipers do what they're supposed to do. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Now here's something else for the Impala. This one is a little bit harder to explain. This is a electric power steering pump for a Mini. Now, why do I have something for a Mini? Well, the idea here is to use this pump to electrically pump power steering fluid for my whole system, including for the power steering itself and the Hydro Boost. I'll just run the whole thing electrically. Basically, when I turn on the car, this is running. And that'll create the necessary system pressure I need. This takes the load off the engine. It is more efficient because you use your battery power to power devices like this and the electric water pump on the engine, which takes less energy than the mechanical pumping that is required. Basically, you're putting mechanical energy from the engine back into the alternator, which goes into the battery which powers these devices. That work is more efficient than mechanical work to have a parasitic load on the engine to run a mechanical power steering pump and a mechanical water pump. It's not worth that much, I don't know, maybe a few horsepower, who knows. But the idea here is to make the hydraulic system that powers both the brakes and the power steering as separate and self-sufficient and self-contained as possible. So my challenge to get this guy to work is to customize things around this, to understand what the in and out of this system is and how to plug it in. Back to the transmission. So this has been confusing. Basically, here's what we're looking at. I've got this kind of made it up, and I think the way to handle this now is to take it back apart, bolt the clutch fork down as far as it'll go, slide it off the retainer clip, then put it back up to the clutch and slide it back on once it's mated. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that'll work. I hope that'll work. So let's try. Down there. We're set. Look at that thing. Oh yeah. Just thinking through some things here. I'm going to need to figure out if this is where my shifter is going to go or this. I think, and I'm eager to push myself to this next step, that I'm going to just drop it in the car. Likely knowing it's going to come back out, but I need to put it in the car to see how much modification I need to do to the transmission tunnel, where to cut for the shifter, and hopefully I don't have any interference due to the supercharger and headers and stuff like that, but that will be an exciting step. I just showed you the Hydro Boost system that I got right there. So that means that brake cylinder is coming off. Get out of here. And I might not put the Hydro Boost on until after the engine's in. I can clear up some stuff like those linkages. That booster, that brake booster, might actually go on the truck. I'm going to push Mega Bench out of the way, move that up here, take that fender off, put it in there. Easy. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff I might need to clean out. You can see all the steering components are new. And this is the Classic Performance, I think they call it the 500 series box. I got new brake lines here that I've routed around, and they're just a mess over here. I need to reshape all of them, and I actually got a tool for that. That might be a later episode. I got this thing so I can straight out all those lines. Okay. Oh my gosh. This has not been easy. So, where are we? Lots of shenanigans and antics. I've got this mostly in, but the engine mount is not quite lined up. You can see that I need him to fit right over here. So I need these two to go about an inch back. And I think I'm going to use a big freaking lever for that. I've got the transmission perched on top of my jack to level it out. I'm actually kind of surprised. It looks like the T56 is fitting back there. I don't want to jinx it. I'm having trouble moving the engine back right here, and I'm thinking it's more because of that chain than it is because of the transmission, though I could be wrong. A couple things I was worried about. Number one, what's the clearance look like for the supercharger? The fender needs to go like here. So that could be a problem. And then the alternator, I intentionally made him a low mount. I was really worried about him interfering with the power steering. I might clear it. We'll see. I don't want to jinx that. Also, upon the installation, I was bumping in the brake booster, but luckily the hydro booster will be a lot smaller, and I'll get that out of the way. Shenanigans! It's in. It is sitting on the engine mounts. There's no bolts in them, but they're just sitting there. And the rear is jacked up, literally. The tail shaft of the transmission is sitting on my jack. It's going to be a bitch to try to make a transmission cross member with the car like this. This low on the ground. I can already see I'm probably going to have problems with the wheel well. So it's running in right here. So either I cut a hole in it or just don't run wheel wells, which is probably not an option. So I'm going to make a punch list, which is great because when you start making a punch list, that means that you're nearing completion. I've got a bunch of stuff, like empty boxes, and when you've got a bunch of empty boxes, you know, you're kind of staring at them wondering, can I get rid of this stuff now? I think I can. So I'm going to use this piece of cardboard for my punch list. One of the very first things that I need to do is cut a hole in the floor where the transmission shifter is going to come. Another thing I have to do is mount the hydraulic clutch, power steering, hydro boost, rear diff, gas tank, pedals, steering shaft, the fender. I got to figure out what to do with the fender. I might have to relocate the alternator, tighten all the screws, dust shield for the transmission. Some of the stuff I'm going to have to do after taking it back out. But this will be my punch list. I'm probably going to end up adding more to it. But this is a good start. So there it is. Punch list.